All right. Hello, hello. Sorry,
Hello.
friends. Come on, Instagram. Sorry, they're lagging.
They're lagging. Well,
They're
welcome
lagging. There we
everyone.
are.
Welcome. Welcome. How are you, Becky?
I am good. It is a very chilly Monday here in Nebraska. I think our high maybe hit 20s ish, but it could be worse, right? I just got off a coaching client session and they had 2 inches of snow today. So
Ooh,
it could be worse. It could be worse.
yeah. Well,
Uh,
what's crazy is I think our high today in Texas was 42, but I think Wednesday we're going to be in the 90s. Make that make sense.
Well, I my husband ended up and told me that this weekend we were supposed to hit almost 90.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, what the heck, right? And then cool back down. It's like, welcome to my roller coaster, friends.
Right. Well, welcome everyone to Beyond Nutrition Community Podcast. I'm Sherry.
And I'm Becky.
We're just two women that have lived the burnout, unhealthy life. We have questioned the noise, right? And we found our way back to a slower, more human pace of healing. And I'm telling you, we are not here to preach perfection. We're here to walk with you as you learn to trust your body and honor nature's rhythms and create sustainable health in every part of your life. So, if you are craving conversations that feel grounded, honest, and deeply supportive, you're in the right place. But we have a special guest tonight. So, Charles Mayfield is a regenerative farmer, educator, and the founder of Farrow Skin, a company rooted in the idea that the healthiest thing you can put on your skin should come from the healthiest land. His work sits at the intersection of ecology, biology, and ancestral wisdom, and he has become a leading voice in the movement to simplify skincare and return to ingredients that actually support the human body. Now, Charles was also a sponsor of the Organuary 2026 Challenge, who generously contributed the Farrow Skin products to the grand prize winner, which I was the lucky recipient. His commitment to real nourishment inside and out make a tangible impact on the challenge and on our community. Welcome back, Charles, for the second time.
Good to have you both, ladies. This is always an honor. And we were talking before we hit record, Sherry. I was thrilled when the email came across on the January winner. I thought, oh, this is too good. So, congratulations on being a big winner.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the prize packet. Like crazy, I was telling you before we started, like I actually use your products, right? Like I ordered your products, and then I was like, "Ooh, would you come on the podcast?" And that was what I think a year ago in January we had you on. I have
Yep.
used the products. I was literally telling Becky, "Oh my goodness, I need to order more more product from Charles." And I literally was getting ready to do that when I won the Organuary challenge, and you graciously sent me a heck of a prize package. So
Yeah,
thank you.
happy to do it. We love participating. James is doing some amazing things over at Pluck, and your story I think is a testament to just how long our products can last as well. I forget what all you ordered last year, but I tell people associate our products oftentimes. We're more expensive than a lot of the tallow brands, and for good reason. But our product a little goes a really long way, and
Mhm.
so I always try to couch people with the idea of ordering skincare, every quarter or every 6 months instead of every month. And so, no, I'm thrilled to be here and fire away with whatever we're going to talk about today. I'm excited, always excited to talk about the pig or skincare and farming and all those things.
Well, let's just start. What's new for those of you who don't know you, right? Let's go back. If they didn't see you on our podcast the first time around, give us a little bit of who you are.
Sure. Well, you had a great intro. I'm the founder of Farrow Skincare. I'm just turned 52. I'm a father. I've got 3 kids, one older and 2 younger kids. Uh, was a regenerative farmer for a number of years. Have written a number of cookbooks in the paleo space. That was probably it was a series of steps. Found CrossFit back in the late 2000 aughts and got introduced to the paleo diet very quickly. Saw a lot of, I think paleo foundationally is one of the best templates out there for just eating real food and getting people sort of back to baseline in terms of nourishment. And so, yeah, you know, the results, I guess I should say, that Julie and I saw through paleo really motivated us to write some cookbooks. It was the paleo scene that introduced me to regenerative farming. And so that itch sort of started maybe 2013, 14. And in 2016, 17, decided to move. I lived in Atlanta for a number of years. We moved to Tennessee and started regenerative farming on a very, very micro scale. If your listeners are familiar with the work of, say, Joel Salatin at Polyface Farms, I often tell people I was doing a micro polyface kind of model. And it was out of that Farrow, our skincare company, was born. I got a really nasty sunburn. This was 2019. And, you know, in much the same sort of style that paleo produced some cookbooks, because paleo worked, you know. And so I wanted to share that sort of eating protocol with people. And, you know, I got this awful sunburn, decided to cover my skin with pastured lard from pigs I was raising. And lo and behold, it worked. I mean, it just did things that no product, you know, had ever done. You know, CeraVe and Aquavira and all the commercialized products that people tell you to put on your skin, and it works far superior to any of those. And what happened in that process was, I call it my paleo lens. You know, I'm sure you've heard this, and you know, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. And I think that's a really good ethos to live by when it comes to diet and what you put in your system. But, you know, I called it my paleo lens. You know, read the label. If you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. Well, I've never really shined that lens on anything else. And, you know, I had this miraculous sunburn recovery. And so got in the kitchen, started tinkering around with stuff and trying to make skincare. And for your listeners that don't know, most skincare is an emulsified product. So you take water, you take a fat. Skincare is a fat-based industry, and you mix them together. Well, to do that, you need to emulsify them. Something needs to, oil and water don't mix. And so I think I pulled a Katie the Wellness Mama recipe off the internet and did a substitution of lard for coconut oil or something like that, but made this luscious cream that went rancid in about 6 days, smelled like death, turned black, you know, it was nasty. And so I tried I tried everything but a chemical alternative. Couldn't keep the viability of the product going for very long. And so I started reading labels on skincare products to try and figure out what I could put in this to, you know, alleviate this bacteria and mold overgrowth. And none of those products or ingredients made sense to me. And then you start reading about what phthalates and parabens and all these things are doing to our hormones. And I thought, okay, well, that's not going to work. I don't need to be a chemist to make good skincare. And so I just took the water out and brought some tallow in. You know, tallow is very, very hot right now. And people think we don't like tallow because we lead with lard, but I'm a fan of tallow. I think it has a very specific purpose in skincare. But yeah, that's sort of how I got here. We just finished our 4th year with Farrow, still making it by hand out of my home, but you know, trying to grow and, you know, coming on shows like yours is really our modus operandi for marketing. We'll do a couple of in-person events a year, West End Price and Hack Your Health. And I'll actually be in Ohio next month for Seeking Whole Health, which is a new one on our docket. Very excited about that one. But yeah, we took all the junk out of skincare and used what I believe is the most efficacious fat for feeding human skin, which is, again, I believe it's a combination of, but lard, we share more biology with pigs than we do almost any other animal on the planet. And so if you raise a healthy, happy pig, their fat in our skin, it's like a lock and key. And so that's my story.
Well, and you kind of brought up the whole biology side, how your understanding, right? You started out just by raising them before you kind of transition into the products. So how did that understanding of the biology help with influencing the way that you're, formulating these products? But also, what do you say to those that are maybe concerned about like the omega-6 that are in lard or in the pig fat?
Yeah, sure. Great question. My education around the pig was purely two factors. One is I've been eating pork all my life. My parents did a 4th of July hog cooking every year from the time I was born until I was in my mid 30s. But farming them connected to me to the animal. They're my favorite farm animal, unquestionably. In terms of the biology and everything about it, Becky, honestly, that came after. I'm sitting in my living room. It's late at night, July 5th, 2019, and I am barbecued. I mean, it was probably a borderline 2nd-degree sunburn. It was really bad. And, classic sort of dude move, it's like, I got this jar of lard in the fridge. And I had this memory of like my mom putting the aloe vera in the refrigerator when we go to the beach. So it was cool when the inevitable sunburn came, And so, yeah, I mean, it was really an act of desperation and curiosity. Now, after the fact, because it worked, right? And so after the fact, it's like, well, what is it? What's so special about this? Why did it work? And, turns out, I mean, this blows my mind. The pig is probably the most misunderstood animal of all the animals that are part of our food system. It's the most demonized. Becky, you mentioned the omega-6 situation, and that's a lot of people will point that out. I think the omega-6, when you talk about pork, you have to talk about two kinds of pork. The industrially raised CAFO, concentrated animal feeding operation, for people that don't know what that stands for. That is one type of pork. And then you have pastured pork, which is an animal that lives outdoors, is managed properly, gets to be an actual pig. Now, the omega-6 thing is interesting because a lot of people tie omega-6 to omega-3 concentration purely to the food that the animal eats. And most pigs eat a lot of corn and a lot of soy. It's part of their grain diet. What's not talked about enough, I believe, is the environment that pig grows up in. And just like a human, if the three of us were fed, pick your perfect diet. If it's paleo, whatever, pick your perfect diet. We'll let Mark Sisson, he gets to pick the food, and we'll let Gordon Ramsay cook it for us, right? So we got a world-class nutrition expert and a world-class chef. And the three of us get to eat that food, 3 square meals a day. The only catch is we got to live in a 6x6 room with no windows for 3 months, right? Mm-hmm. So the very best, finest food, as defined by whoever wants to define it, but no sunshine, crowded quarters, unclean air, all the other lifestyle, no exercise. And it's just the three of us. Like we got to find which corner we're going to go to the bathroom in, and we would come out of that room sick as first of all, we wouldn't make it 3 months. Yeah. And so when you start talking about omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratios, you really have to talk about how the animal's raised. Now, how they're fed is important, but my contention is that you can, especially with a monogastric omnivore like a pig, anybody else, we're monogastric omnivores, right? And you all intuitively know this. You get plenty of sunshine, plenty of friends, plenty of fresh air, plenty of exercise. what you're able to get by with in terms of dietary intake becomes much broader. I mean, if I get off this call in couple of minutes and have myself a Twinkie, I'm going to be fine. And my omega-6 and omega-3, I might get a little indigestion tomorrow, but I'm on the whole, I'm going to be okay. And so, Practical Farmers of Iowa did a study on this in 2019, and they studied the fatty acid profile from pasture-raised pigs compared to the industrial model. And the omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratios were off the charts better. And so, Becky, to sort of wrap this up in a bow, listeners, I would not encourage you to eat pork from the store unless it's labeled pasture raised. I don't really care about the feed. I mean, the feed is ideally you want soy free. I'm okay with corn. You'd ideally like that corn to come from a non-GMO corn plant, but the impetus, the critical piece is how they're raised. And when you do that, the omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio is wonderful. I get my panties in a bunch a little bit over this because a lot of people want to demonize pork. And again, I would tell your listener, eat pastured pork, but pork from Walmart is way better than Cheerios or Doritos or, this full spectrum of garbage. And so I get my hackles get up when we start demonizing pork. Not that it's not deserving, but, I did a TED Talk. Basically, we need more pigs raised on pasture. If you raise a pig on pasture, right now, I think it's 98.6% of the pork raised in this country is done in the confinement model. And that is, and it's been progressively getting smaller and smaller. That's what we need. We need to educate the consumer that pork raised on pasture is a superfood, first and foremost. So when you eat it, it's really good for you. But all the byproducts from said pig are remarkable for our skin. And, here's the other one. Back to how did I figure this out and pigs and all this? I just intuitively, look at the medical system. We harvest over a dozen hormones directly from pigs for use in human medical care. We put heart valves from pigs in humans. There's a study in Australia right now, I think, or New Zealand. There's a study, I think it's stage 2 animal study. They're a couple years into using isolate cells from a pig, and they're 2 years into an animal model study to reverse type 1 diabetes. The biology between pigs and humans is a near spot on match. And so raise a healthy, happy pig. They taste great, but they're also biologically so similar to us that we can lean into them. It's argued the pig might be the key to solving the global organ donor shortage. I mean, it's just Johns Hopkins got $21 million a couple years ago to advance this xenotransplantation thing where you grow an organ in a pig for healing and donating to a human. So I hope I answer your question. That I don't buy pork at the store unless you're going to the store to buy Cheerios, and if that's the case, buy the pork at the store. But yeah.
So speaking of your TED Talk, which, by the way, if anyone wants to watch his TED Talk, it was called Pigs, Biology, and Human Health. And you did talk about the similarities between pigs and humans. What is one connection that surprises most people that they just didn't know?
Well, pigs have this reputation of being a dirty animal, and they come by it honestly. I mean, if you watch a pig, they roll around in the mud and they will root through feces and various things, and they have an innate ability to find nutrition in the oddest places. They've also been, demonized for centuries, mostly by the Jewish and Islamic faiths, the Greeks, the Christians, most other. Historically, they were a very popular animal globally. It was those two particular religions that demonized them, and I'm not so sure that was because, well, we know it's not because they're dirty. A lot of people think they're dirty. They are one of the cleanest animals on the planet, and you would know that if you ever raised them. But part of the problem today, I'm just going to say it. AI is a very serious threat to our existence. And I am talking about agricultural ignorance. Artificial intelligence be damned. The fact that we are such an agriculturally ignorant society today I'll just tell you, veganism does not exist in an agriculturally literate world. It doesn't, because all the things they prop it up with, no animal should be harmed and best for the planet, all of that goes away when you understand what how many animals you got to kill to grow vegetables, and how animals suffer in nature. My goal is to give a pig its very best life and an honorable death, and one with reverence, because nature does not give them that it does not give them either. It doesn't give them a good life, and it certainly doesn't give them an honorable and pain-free death. So, yeah.
So, what part of the message in your TED Talk did the audience come talk to you about? Like, what was a reoccurrence comment or something that you heard from them?
There were some. Well, the aha moments came out of just educating people about the medical side. I think most people are reasonably up to speed on the factory farming model. They may not understand just how tortured some of those animals are, but I got some fair questions around skincare. I would say, actually, I guess to Becky's question earlier, it goes in lockstep with, this is a dirty animal. Well, it's unhealthy to eat. And I don't blame the pig for any of this. I mean, we live in a world now where, what is it? Bacon was labeled a carcinogenic risk above cigarettes for a couple years. I don't know if that's still making its rounds, but I mean, again, in an agriculturally ignorant society, they will accept a statement like eating bacon is as bad as smoking cigarettes. I mean, that's just flippantly wrong. The human experiment is a greater testament to propaganda, I believe, than intuition today, and that's becoming harder and harder with all the artificial intelligence and the technological advancements and all the algorithmic garbage. And so, I guess, again, grateful to be able to come on and talk to you and your audience about just some of the BS that's fed to all of us.
Right. And so in this preparation, right, I obviously live in Nebraska. I remember when Jamie Seaman was preparing for her TED Talk and everything she had to put in it. I mean, it's no small task or small feat to get everything down, right, into what they're expecting. What was the most challenging or eye-opening part of shaping your message for that format so that, you had the structure that TEDx was looking for?
Well, that's a great question. I had to take God out of my talk. So for your listeners, okay, so here's how the TED architecture works. There's I don't know, probably 50 to 100 TEDx locations around the country. My talk was in Alabama, at North Alabama University, and so we had 8 speakers, and this is a local TEDx Winter Park was the name of it. And so they've got 8 talks, and their job is every TED Talk you've ever seen is edited. Now, it's shot live, but they edit it. So when we were preparing for the talk, they're like, if you make a mistake, take a breath, back up, start, back up 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and redo it. So every TED Talk you've ever seen has been edited, but I will say it was performed live. There's no teleprompter. In terms of the prep, I did have to change a couple of things in the talk. The line in the talk was, if you've watched the talk, the line in the talk was, we are all called to care for this earth. And sadly, we are underutilizing and in many cases torturing one of our best tools to do so. Speaking of the pig, the original line was, God has called us to care for the earth. But the person at TEDx Wilson Park was like, you got to take God out, because what they want, TEDx Wilson Park, and I love them all. They're wonderful people. It was an amazing experience for me. And their goal is to get all the talks into TED's sort of sandbox, because what they want is the talk to get elevated to the major TED platforms. So TED has its own channel, and will put, they'll pick 10 to 12 talks a year that they put the full faith and credit of TED behind. And so that's what the goal of the team at TEDx Wilson Park is. Let's make the 8 best talks we can that fit into their, mindset. My talk did not do that. If you've watched my talk, it's got a TEDx disclaimer on it. Don't. And I will say this, Becky, I did not pick the title for my talk. Oh. TED does that. Okay. I gave the talk, and then TED titles it. So, what was the title again? It's like pigs,
biology and human health.
Okay. Well, if I could, we'll do this in real time. If I could give my talk a title, it would be something along the lines, the pigs, the superhero you didn't know about, or something like that. The whole talk was positioning this animal as a historic past, present, and future superhero. And medically, culinarily, agriculturally, and then obviously skincare wise, I believe they have the opportunity to play a major role in the future viability of our planet, of our species, of our land, of our ecology, all of those fun things. And sadly, again, 98.6% of the pork in this country is raised in a modern day concentration camp, is incredibly unhealthy, has to be loaded with drugs, antibiotics and hormones and all sorts of fun stuff, because otherwise, again, what happens to a human when it doesn't eat right and doesn't exercise properly and gets no sunshine? My God. So the sun is like the greatest asset ever. And pigs metabolize vitamin D from everyone listening probably knows how powerful vitamin D is for a human, right? We supplement with it. You got to get sunshine. It's really shouldn't be called a vitamin. It should be called like a super vitamin or a hormone. I mean, we take vitamin D and do so many things internally with it. And 98.6% of the pigs in this country never see the sun. So they're sick. They're borderline manic. I mean, they're just tortured. And so the point of the talk was, I closed with basically that we need to do everything. And this is, I'll say this directly to your listener. We need to do everything we can to raise pastured pork production in this country in the coming decade from the paltry 2% today to 5 or 10%. We need to reverse this trend that has steadily removed pigs from pasture since the 1970s. And if we do that, we are rewarded with a better ecosystem, a super nutrient dense food source, and skincare that rivals anything out there. So.
Oh, Wow. So if you had 5 more minutes or uh, a talking point, what would you have added?
Oh gosh. Well, it was tough. So it's 12-minute window. That's the ideal, again, the ideal TED Talk. Oh, that was the other thing. Here's another good lesson I learned. I had the talk. I was on iteration number 9. I mean, I met with a coach every week for 12 weeks leading up to the talk because it's a big deal. And I was on iteration number 9 of edits and tweaking and this, that, and the other. And the head honcho for Wilson Park was like, she said, you need to add citations to your talk. And my first response was, everything I'm saying is citable. Like, if I say this about omega-3, omega-6, here's the link to the article. And it was really interesting. This was a very interesting point. And my coach was, Gary is his name. Gary said, listen, Charles, the listener isn't going to go to their phone and look that up. And if you say something that they think is BS, you've lost them for the rest of the talk. And I thought that was a really, really good, I thought that was great feedback. And so iteration number 10, I put like 12 citations, which I got to tell you, it made the talk. It's so funny. I was struggling really bad with transitions. It was 4 big topics. You asked me, Sherri, you asked me what I would add.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could add anything other than pick one of the 4 silos that I sort of at a high level brought into the talk and just talk about that, right? Because medical, culinary, farming, skincare, those are all TED Talks. But I was trying to emphasize the breadth of the pig and its contributions. And so I was really struggling. This is so funny how there's silver linings in everything. I will never forget how unbelievably pissed off I was that I was going to have to literally retool my entire talk 2 weeks before. Okay. But I was struggling. There were some transitions, and you find magic words. When I say this word, I know, okay, now I'm transitioning here. And I was just really struggling with the transitions. And my concern was you can't ad lib a citation. You got to get the source. Everything's got to be right. There's just no ad libbing a citation. And I put these citations in the talk. And for about a week, it was just grind. But all of a sudden, they were like buoys in the river. All of a sudden, I had these perfect little transition spots for my talk. So what I fought tooth and nail in initially with this change ended up sort of being the perfect structure to get me through. If I could pick, I would say if I could pick one topic, I'll ad lib your question a little bit. If I could pick one of the 4 topics to expand upon, it would probably be, there's 2. It would be medical, more than likely, or I would scrap all 4 topics and spend the entire 12 minutes talking about the history of the pig and educate people on maybe why and how it was demonized, albeit falsely. Because again, even to this day, if you rewind the clock 100 years in this country, 100 years, 90% of the people in this country were eating lard on a daily basis. Daily basis. Now, this is post Crisco. Crisco launched in 1911. But the nail, when Crisco really started to overtake lard, came during World War II. And I mentioned, I don't even know, actually, this might have gotten, did I mention it in the talk?
No, you did. You did. Yeah, okay. It was in there.
Mm-hmm. There were some lines there at the end I had to cut to get to my 12-minute mark. But Crisco was launched in 1911. it was bleached white. This former engine lubricant, and nastiness was bleached white so that it resembled the only cooking fat. We cooked with with lard, and we cooked with butter. Tallow was not a cooking fat until post World War II, and really not until the 1940s, 50s, really the 50s and 60s. But lard was king. And in World War II, both the UK and the US rationed it for the war effort. You can't make nitroglycerin out of cottonseed oil. And so the lard was rationed not for food, it was rationed for the war effort to make explosives. And so it's removed from store shelves, but that's okay. Here's your can of lard with all the Betty Crocker, marketing material. And this is the greatest fat. And, if you understand like herd mentality and all the psychological side of marketing, people want to be in, and this is the new in thing to consume. But more importantly, you could know for 3.5 years, you could not find lard on a store shelf in this country. And so anyway, how would I frame the talk? I think you could spend an entire TED Talk talking through the past, present, and future contributions that pigs make medically to human thriving. And ergo, by default, that sort of leans over into the other applications for this animal. But the history, I just finished reading a book by Mark Essig called Lesser Beasts. And, I know a lot about pig history. This book completely turned me sideways because I had rewound my clock maybe 200 years when it came to lard. This guy goes back thousands of years in terms of the lineage and the history and the archaeological finds when it comes to pigs and the roles they played. And he contextualized some of the reasons why pigs were demonized in a manner that makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah.
Well, it was great. Of course, now I'm going to tack on to that because I've seen you speak at Hack Your Health, was it 2 and 3 years? 2 years. Well, but you did the year before that, 3 years, right? You've done it a couple
I did.
years.
I've spoken twice. I spoke in Austin the last year they were in Austin. And I gave similar talk in Tampa this year or last year.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I was in the audience when you spoke at Hack Your Health in Austin. And that was the first time I had heard about your product, right? And we went and visited your booth. And yeah, it was you met so many people. But yeah, I remember I did, and you probably wouldn't even remember this, but I said, oh, I use tallow, and I kind of dismissed it, right? Until I actually used your product, right? And I'll be honest, tallow actually clogs my skin and I get more breakouts, but the lard, which I know has tallow in it, but it's the formulation that you use helps with my drier skin and I did use it this summer out here on our property. I did get a sunburn and I did use it.
Well, tallow, so Annette Bosworth, I gave her a little bit of grief about this over the interwebs, but so tallow is more concentrated in stearic and stearic and maybe it's oleic acids. They're very occlusive fats. So they're waxy, and for your tallow users, you put it on and it just sort of stays on the surface. You have emollient fats and occlusive fats. And so metabolomics, I mentioned this study in the talk. Metabolomics did a study in 2023 on human sebum, the oil our glands produce. And it found it was, chock full of all these different fatty acids and triglycerides, but they sort of fractionated everything out. And, they found that, stearic and oleic, these more occlusive fats their primary function was in sealing in moisture. So they get on the surface of the skin, but they're waxier. But the palmitic fatty acids and some of the other fatty acids, these more emollient fatty acids, were primary function in moisturization. Well, this is where the lard tallow sort of combo is, I believe, an ideal mimicry of human sebum. So, an optimal moisturization product is going to both moisturize the skin and lock it in. It's going to act like the oil our glands produce. And so, but yeah, I mean, if you're a tallow user, tallow is great. It's not great at moisturizing. It's really good at sealing. So, a lot of people, when they move to animal fats, one of the best advice, take a shower, as soon as you get done with the shower, you sort of apply these products. And if you're using a tallow only product, it is going to lock in. It's going to trap and seal in some of that moisturization better. But most of us are walking around. If you think about your skin moisturization as like a gas tank, most everybody's walking around with a quarter tank, maybe full. And so there's not a lot of moisturization that's going to really happen from taking a shower or taking a bath. I mean, that's going to get your skin wet, and it's going to sort of hydrate the very outer layer. But in terms of like sinking in, it's not going to really do a good job. And so the thing our product does, I believe, better than anything is it gets down deep and fills that tank up. I mean, I haven't itched in 4 years, and folks, itching is dry skin. It's not the mosquito bite. It's not the rash. It's none of those things. It is, if you think about what is dry skin, well, it's dry, so it cracks easily. So, here's my skin, and I get a mosquito bite, and we get our little whelp, right? Well, that's on a microscopic level, that whelp or that chigger bite or poison ivy or anything, or eczema, any type of disruption to our dermis, if it's stretching your skin, which a mosquito bite will stretch your skin, then what you're getting at a microscopic level is dry cracks in your skin. That's where the itch comes from. So even like a bruise, a bruise will itch because your skin is stretching out. And so how much more wonderful would life be without the itch? We get a lot of emails from people that have a lot of chronic skincare conditions, eczema, psoriasis, cheilitis. And I'm not going to say one thing about any clinical. I'm making zero claims about our product's ability to, air quotes, treat those conditions. But I will tell you, and I've never had a chronic skincare condition. I've had plenty of chiggers and mosquito bites, but 90% of the misery with any skin problem is when it itches, because you're just you want to stretch it. And of course, most people inevitably scratch it, and that makes everything worse. You don't pick at that. Well, but it itches. And so scarring. We have a post up about this. I think I've got it coming up like once a quarter. I have a good friend that had open heart surgery. I mean, they cut him open from stem to stern, and post-op, skin food, our unscented skin food. And that's all he used on his scar. And, his feedback was, you can see visually how much it really truly nourished his skin back to, I mean, he's still going to have a scar, but it's not going to be, but he said, man, it never itched. And that's such a life bonus to not itch.
Well, it's funny because I'm going to have you in a minute talk about each of your products, but I'll tell you a little story that when I fly anywhere, right? If I travel, I'm taking my product, the Farrow. I happen to go home and visit my parents. Let's see, I got the There, I
Oh,
got
here,
the
I'll do
skin
it.
food. There you go. So
I don't have a background like you. There's
I
there's
know.
there's the skin food.
Yeah, I took the skin food and I took the face food with me.
Yeah. Both of these
And
are TSA compliant, by the way.
they were. Yes, they are. And
Yeah.
so I went to my parents last summer, and my dad had some spots cut off of his arm, and he was told to keep it moist, right? And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I went and got the skin food, and he used it the entire time that I was there. And they don't know this, they're probably watching, but I on purposely left it right on accident. Oops, I forgot it, but I knew it was working for him and I left it with him. But as far as I know, he's still using it. So that's why I was low on product, just so you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's again, it's a testament to, this jar right here will last me, and nobody uses this stuff more than me, but it'll last me 3 or 4 months, and that's using it every day. Now, I don't put it all over my body. I will, for you and your listeners, a life hack is if you go at any regularity to a massage therapist, it takes about a fifth of this jar to get me through a 90-minute full body massage. And what I tell people is you're never going to take the time to moisturize your body like that. And I will tell you, the massage oils that they're using are garbage most of the time. I mean, if you got a good person, maybe it's like a coconut oil or something like that. But even coconut oil is comedogenic, clogging pores. We mentioned tallow earlier. Tallow clogs pores because of those occlusive fats. And so if all you're getting is occlusive and you're not feeding the skin, there's probability that you're going to clog a pore. Anyway, oh yeah. So I go get a massage once a month. And the crazy thing is, if you've ever had a massage, you start on your stomach and they do your back, and then you go to the legs, and then you flip over and they do your legs and come back up and they finish on your head. Well, by the time she's done with my massage, the cream has soaked in everywhere, but just like right up around my head. And so I, even putting my clothes back on, I'm not greasy. People think that I put this on and I'm going to feel greasy. And if you can tell them, Sherri, because a little of this goes a really long way. So you don't need much. Don't put it on like a regular cream. But what I do is I'll take a little pea size and I'll put it in my hands, and then I'll put it wherever it needs to go. But oh yeah, man, the full body massage is it's a life hack.
I love it. All right, so let's talk about your products, because you were so generous in sending me all of them. I was thrilled. But so your first product ever was what?
Our first products ever, we launched with actually one of the products I don't sell anymore. We launched with our face food and our skin food, and then we have what's called our skincare elixir. It's a CBD product. And I'm a huge fan of CBDs, cannabidiol. CBD is short for cannabidiol. It's one of 120 some odd compounds that are derived from the hemp plant, marijuana. There's one psychoactive ingredient in marijuana. It's called THC, tetrahydrocannabidiol. That's the psychoactive compound. But there's a bunch of other compounds. CBD was one of them. There it is, our skincare elixir. Look at you digging it up. I don't sell that anymore because Shopify told me they weren't going to give me my money anymore because it's a controlled substance. So that's what we launched with. Yeah, legal in every state, but legal versus bankable, those are two very different things. So we discontinued that in October or November of last year. So we have our flagships are the skin food and the face food. We have 4 soaps now. We have an unscented. We have a spearmint spearmint eucalyptus. We have a cedarwood orange, and then we launched this one. This is our charcoal peppermint. Peppermint charcoal. We launched it as a seasonal for December, and it was so popular we kept it. So we've got 4 soaps, and then we have I do have it. Hold on.
Which, while you're grabbing that, those soaps are great. I have the soaps, and they really end up and lather up, and they're really nice.
Oh yeah, and I use it as a shave bar. I used it as a shampoo. I encourage people. I'm going to say this now while I'm getting this product out for your listeners. The number one threat to your skin. Okay, so let's talk about foundationally. All right, you got to drink plenty of water. You got to get some sleep. You got to eat some animal-based part of your diet. You got to give your body the ingredients it needs to build, repair. But the number one threat to healthy skin, I believe, is certainly in this day and age, is the over and hyper sanitization of our skin. And this got way ramped up. If you think about all the sanitizing we had to start doing after 2020, there is only one situation ever that your skin needs alcohol on it, and that is if you have a cut or an abrasion, if the skin surface is broken and exposed to the outdoors. We have this remarkable organ, right, that's semi-permeable, and it keeps everything out that should be out. But if it's broken, if the skin barrier is broken, then I can justify getting in there. You don't have to use alcohol. You could use a soap to clean the wound, so to speak. But I'll give everyone a pass. If your skin barrier is broken, then you should clean it profusely. And alcohol is obviously a very powerful cleaning agent. But once that cleaning is done, then you cover the wound, and seal it in with. Actually, you could use our product to create fat is a hermetic sealer. It's an antibacterial, antimicrobial environment. If you've ever cooked bacon and poured the drippings in a coffee cup and left it on your kitchen counter for a couple 2 weeks too long, there's no mold, there's no bacteria, there's no nothing in that cup. In fact, you just spoon it back out and brown your pot roast with it. Pure fat is by nature antimicrobial. It all comes back to food, right? You're familiar with duck confit?
Mm-hmm.
You familiar with that recipe? That recipe,
yeah.
duck confit, is a French recipe that is 1,000 years old. It's hundreds of years old. It predates refrigeration. Well, what do? You stew the duck in a bath of water, you braise it, and you render all the fat off the duck with all the spices and herbs and vegetables, and the fat rises to the top of the dish, and you pull it off the stove, and you set it there, and the fat caps as it cools off and seals in. It hermetically protects the dish underneath, and it just sits there and sort of cures and works for a couple days because the heat's killed all the bacteria. And so now your dish just sits there. And so fat is by nature antibacterial. This is our other product. This is the Epidermis. This is our portable packable tube. It's actually sort of quickly becoming my favorite product. Here's the downside to our beloved Epidermis. This is our lard heaviest product. So we use a ratio in all of our products of lard, leaf lard, and tallow. There's no leaf lard in this product. It's about 80% lard, 20% tallow in terms of the fats that we use. Because of the less occlusive, more emollient fat nature, if you've ever opened a can of lard, like it's liquid. At about 75, 77 degrees, this will turn into a liquid. And so we got a little warning on here that says if you're going to open it, do it with the top up. And so, I'll open it and I'll just drip a couple of drops in my hand and use it. But this is most of our products, the face food and skin food, come scented or unscented. We use essential oils for our scent. But this only comes in scented, but it's a delightful scent. It's very outdoorsy. It's got bergamot, black spruce. Let's see, what else is in here? Not grapefruit. Wild orange essential oils. It's got 4 essential oils, and it's delightful. It smells really outdoorsy, sort of on the go, but it's portable, packable. It'll go in your pocket. Just beware, if this has been in your pocket for like a minute, it's don't just do this. It's gonna pour out. And we're so small. I'm gonna eventually repackage this product. It needs a smaller hole. Or maybe put it into a pump, although the airless pumps don't fly very well because at altitude because of the pressure they'll get a little leaky. So I think we're going to stick with this, and just, part of it is, if you want optimal skincare, there's a couple rules, and one rule, and in the case of our products, is open it with the top up and just be diligent when you serve yourself up. So that's it.
Love it.
Those are but it's launching in the next couple weeks.
Ooh, sneak peek.
Oh, I love it.
This is our Fat Lips lip balm.
Ooh.
Peppermint Bliss. This is just the empty carton because I just got these in. I'm having a special tray fabricated so I can load up 50 of these at a time. And when you're making lip balm, you don't want to individually fill each tube, because by the time you get to about 10 tubes in, the formulation's already starting to set up because it's a lot waxier. And because this is going to be really solid at room temperature, and it's a lip balm. And so I'm having a tray built so I can make the batch and pour it into the tray, and it'll fill all of the lip balms at one time. But yes, our Fat Lips is launching very soon. I'm super pumped. I've wanted a lip balm for a while, and this is still my side hustle, side project job, and so it's just been a little tough. But man, we finally got the packaging right, the formulation right. It's spot on. So that's everything we got.
I love it. So if somebody was just starting and it's like, okay, Charles, what one thing should we buy, or what package? Because I know you offer packages too. What should we buy, and how do we use it? Like for a beginner, do you have a beginner 101?
Great. Those are great questions. You may not like my answer, but here it is. We have what's called a Fat and Fabulous bundle. Now, fat is spelled with a PH, because fat with a PH is pretty, hot, and tempting. And we want everyone to feel pretty, hot, and tempting. Our Fat and Fabulous bundle is our skin food, our face food, and you get to pick one of our soaps. And how do you use it? I will tell you, I'm a guy. I shave. I didn't shave this morning, but I use it as an aftershave. For the ladies, night cream. So you can use our face food for basically neck up. You can use our skin food for neck down. Or, I will tell you, I use our skin food on my face. They both work really well. If you've got really fine skin, or I would say really oily skin, the face food's going to be a little bit better on your face. If you've got sort of if you've got more oily skin on your face, I would tell you to use the face food. But if you've got really oily skin, stop cleansing so much. It's the number one problem. Ladies, the hot water heater was invented in 1890. It did not become commercially viable or available until the 1950s. Okay. So we've had, as a species, access to hot running water less than 75 years. Crazy, right? Okay. I feel dirty. What does that mean? Well, it means I went and sweat, and my glands produced oil, and I've lived my life, and I've done all these things, and I've got all this excess oil, and that has bound up. It's attracted and contacted with dust in the air, dirt in the air, all the fun things. All I need to do to adequately wash my skin off is warm water and a washcloth. So if you have oily skin, even if you don't have oily skin, I will tell you now, ladies tend to wear makeup. You can use actually as a makeup remover. Our skin food is remarkable at that. So a little warm water, get the skin food on there, and then a little soap to just sort of it'll mix together and sort of pull everything off, and it'll leave behind a nice residue. Our soaps work great for that as well. But yeah, the soap works great as a shampoo bar. It works great as a shave bar. But the number one tip I can give anybody, if you want your skin to glow, is to let it rest. And the best way to let it rest is to not sanitize it so much. Warm running water and a washcloth. I promise you. Now, if you've got oily skin, y'all know this. Have you ever not eaten sugar for a while? You go like low carb for a little while, and that first week you want to bite someone's head off. The sugar monster is tough, okay? Because we've been living one way, and now we've made a change. Okay, I'm just telling you this. It's the best thing you'll ever do for your skin. But if you can go a solid week, I'm not saying don't shower. I'm not saying don't bathe. But if you can go a solid week without over sanitizing your skin, your sebum production, your skin oil production will re-regulate. You might feel really greasy for a couple days. I tell people summer's coming. If you're going on a vacation, like 2 or 3 days before you leave, no more soap or shampoo. And then, and go into your vacation feeling a little greasy. But by the time you get done, you'll also be relaxed and you're getting outside and all those fun things. If you'll give your body and your autonomic nervous system, if you'll give it time to reacclimate and adjust to not getting completely stripped down every single day, it will revolutionize your complexion and your skin. And so our Fat and Fabulous bundle for sure is a go-to. We've got a 25% off discount code for any of your listeners with the code HEALING.
Yep.
So they'll save some money there. And but yeah, and how do you use it? I mean, if you got an itch, a bug bite, a sunburn, I mean, any acute skin condition, just dry, itchy, scalp. I mean, it works. It's a heck of a hair pomade, for the men out there. I mean, my hair's gotten thicker in the last couple years, and I use it every day as sort of a styling pomade. Ladies, if you've got, if you've got a little crustiness or whatever up around, we see this sort of along the edges of the scalp around the hairline. It works great for that. A night cream, fantastic. A foot cream, fantastic. I mean, do you want me to get like a little gross? Like sure. I've got people that have hemorrhoids, and I'll tell you right now, acne and hemorrhoids, those two marketplaces are some of the most toxic creams on the planet. Okay, so if you've got anything that itches, this stuff is great for. So if it's hemorrhoids, if it's I've got a OBGYN up in the Northeast that's been using our unscented skin food for vaginal atrophy. So pre, and post-menopausal vaginal atrophy. The vaginal wall thins out and it can itch. And again, a lot of those creams are just reconstituted petroleum derivative garbage. So, use it for that. We'll probably have like a sleep aid cream sometime this year or early next year, which will basically be a reconstituted version of probably our skin food with some magnesium in it. We're not there yet. But yeah, I mean, this is, you've seen the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding, when he sprays the Windex on everything. It's like the fix-all. That's part of the problem with the skincare industry is that they have everyone convinced that here's this problem over here. Okay, well, here's a specific product for this specific problem. Okay, so here's your upper eye morning cream. And then this cream over here is for after you shave. And then this cream over here is for your feet. And this, you understand where I'm going with this. And listen, it's a great game to play. I get to sell you 50 products versus 1 or 2. And, again, part of what I'm doing is trying to re-educate consumers. And again, it's we've lost our damn intuition. Like, if it's good for your face, it's good for your body. If it's good for your body, it's probably okay for your face. Now, I will lend some credence to the eyes, but you got to, biologically, folks, this skin right here, biologically, is the same as this skin right here. The difference is you never lean your lower eyelid up against a tree. You never rest your eyelid on a table. You never punch your eyelid. You get what the biggest difference in skin has to do with the environmental exposure. And so, this, again, I'll give some credence to the eyes, but everywhere else, you could, in theory, just give it one product. So I guess, Sherri, if you just want to give us a try, Skin Food. The soaps are dope. Goat's milk and Smart Lard are the greatest. We fat our soap. So when you make soap, so soap is a mixture of fat, water, and sodium hydroxide lye. Okay. And there's a really tight ratio when you're making soap. Soap is short for saponification. That's the process. If you understand what like the fermentation does to sauerkraut or sourdough bread, that fermentation process. Okay, so saponification, the process by which this very caustic, toxic sodium hydroxide is not good. I mean, if you get sodium hydroxide in your skin, you got a problem. But mixing it with fat in a ratio with water, and it goes through this saponification process, and it turns this very toxic ingredient into a formidable cleanser. Well, the saponification process, here's another tip. If it doesn't say soap, you should not use it. If it says beauty bar or cleanser or body wash, all of that means is that they've been able to circumvent the saponification process and put other artificial synthetic cleansers in there that are horrible for your skin. So there's another tip for you. My point is the ratio on these ingredients for saponification are pretty tight, but you have about a 10% margin, and you can lean or fat a soap think about like 5% on either side. You can either have too little fat or too much fat. We fat our soap. You will both know this. When you're done using our soap, you feel moisturized because there's just a microscopic layer of fat left over because we've got a fatted soap. It's a little fatter than it's supposed to be. And so those are, if you got to go one, I would say moisturizer wise, our Skin Food, but the Fat and Fabulous bundle. I can tell you, between those 3 products, at least 2 of them will be a permanent place in your household forever. I think every household in America should have a jar of this sitting in the refrigerator like the aloe vera of old. And it's almost, it doesn't even matter. If it's sunburn, mosquito bite, ant bite, you scraped your knee, all the thing, rug burn, you name it. It's that effective. And again, I haven't itched in 4 years, so that's kind of cool too.
So what's one skincare ingredient you would ban forever?
Oh gosh, just one?
Yep.
One skincare ingredient I would ban forever. I'll make this funny.
Okay.
You ready? Collagen.
Oh,
that is
cool.
the biggest scam in skincare. Collagen, okay. Our skin does not absorb collagen, folks. In fact, I was just in Taiwan and I sat next to a biochemist on my flight from Seattle to Taiwan, and I'm watching his iPad and he's reading all sorts of chemistry. Turns out he's a biochemist in the skincare field. So we just went on and on about all sorts of fun stuff. I learned something on that trip. This is going to freak y'all out, okay? But collagen, there is nothing you can topically put on your skin that is going to enhance collagen production, full stop. So I don't want to ban it. I don't like the idea of, okay, that was sort of my funny joke. If we're going to ban something, well, I mean, I wouldn't mind banning petrolatum. I mean, it's kind of bland and obnoxious and readily available, but petroleum jelly is just horrible. But anyway, back to collagen. The only way to get more collagen is to feed your body the ingredients to maintain parasympathetic. That's rest and digest, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sympathetic. Yeah. I always get them confused. The more you can maintain a parasympathetic state, the more collagen you will produce. And I learned this from this guy. I've got to still read into this, but he's got 2 companies and they're doing this. This blew my mind because I already knew that collagen, exogenous collagen on the skin did not do anything for collagen production. I already knew that. I was under the impression that you could eat your way to better collagen production. And he said, no. He said, now you can eat good foods and you can maintain a proper diet and you can feed the rest of your system, but your collagen production, he showed me some graphs and collagen is actually this really unique sequence of 3 strands of protein production. I mean, it was a 12-hour flight, so I had nowhere else to be. But I'm geeking out with this guy. I mean, it was great. Anyway, let's ban petroleum byproducts from skincare. Mineral oil, there's another one. I mean, all the petroleum derived, which they're everywhere in skincare. Those should be gone. Petroleum.
Wonderful.
I love it. So, again, if you use code HEALING, Becky, you want to throw that back up there? So I'll let her throw it up there.
I'm like, I got to click the right button. There we go.
There we go. So 25% off your first order. Use code HEALING, HEALING. Yep. And thank you. I mean, that's a great discount for our audience. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, and we said before we hit record, try it. Please try it. I'll tell you right. So we give a 20% discount off for subscriptions. And again, this is just me talking about my company. But if you're like most of our customers, when you find that, now the soaps you might go through on a monthly basis. Who knows? It takes me a couple months, but I'm not soaping up every day. Warm shower and a washcloth, but I soap. I got my hair cut yesterday, so I shampoo and soap. Anyway, quarterly is what most of our audience and customers end up every 3 months getting our products. They will last a very long time. And I mentioned the masseuse hack on purpose because if you're starting to build up a little bit of an inventory, massages are great for you. Again, parasympathetic, all that fun stuff. And I'll give you one more skincare tip if you don't mind. This one's totally free. It's one of the big points I'm going to be making at my talk in Ohio next month. Breathe through your nose. So proactive all day long, focus the breath into your nose. It's, again, your skin is this very valuable organ. Okay. It's your largest organ, but it falls well down the list in the pecking order of organs and importance when it comes to maintaining homeostasis. Okay. If you are in constant fight or flight or sympathetic nervous state, okay, then your body's going to hold on to, it's going to do a bunch of stuff, right? But it's going to hold on to fat. It's going to shuck away all ongoing autonomic nervous repair and maintenance. Your skin is a big part of that. And so the more we can breathe our way into calm, the better. And if you breathe through your mouth, whether you know it or not, you're signaling, because we're not built to breathe through our mouths unless we're running from a lion. So if you're breathing through your mouth, you're using all the muscles, you're telling your brain there's a lion chasing me, even if you're sitting at your desk typing an email. So my big skincare tip and just general health tip for everyone is breathe through your nose.
I love it.
Put the cleansers down, warm water and a washcloth, and breathe through your nose while you're taking that amazing shower. Look at that. That's just wrapped it up in a big bow.
I love it. I love it. We love having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. You are really a fan favorite. We got a lot of views last time you were on, so I'm expecting. I'll let you know how many, because people I love listening to you. Like, we could have you on every other month. Like, we enjoy you so much. Where can people find you?
Our website is farrow.shop. I always have to spell it because there's a couple of Farrows out there, but we have our own spelling. Farrow, by the way, is a reference to a newborn batch of piglets, a farrow of piglets. And so when you're the lard guy, you gotta honor the animal. We're at Farrow Skin on Instagram, TikTok. I think it's Farrow Skin Care. If you put in FARROW, you're going to find us. I mentioned before we hit record, this is going to be my new YouTube studio. I got my camera. I got a couple more wires. So we're going to start doing some more mid to long form content on YouTube starting in the next couple weeks. And I think that's at Farrow Skincare. But yeah, if you type in FARROW, for now, you're going to find us. So.
Absolutely. Well, listen, everyone, if tonight's episode helped you and you rethink your skincare or your health or your relationship with the land, you need to, whoops, that was my phone. Hold on. There. Sorry about that. Thought I had it on silent. Apparently not. This is live, folks. Anyway, boy, that was timing, wasn't it? But we want to make sure you share it with someone because follow our Beyond Nutrition community, follow Charles Farrow, and share it with your friends. We love that if you have questions for him or anything like that, I have his email. I know how to get hold of him so I can shoot questions off to him. The only thing I don't have is his phone number, but I could work on that and then I could text him your questions. But in all joke here, but we do really appreciate it. We believe in real life conversations to help people live their best life, right? So any last words, Charles?
Well, I guess I would leave it with I'm totally open to doing this. If y'all want to start amassing some skincare, skin health questions from your community, and want to have me back on in a month or 2 months or something like that, and just we can hammer out a bunch of questions or whatever I can do to serve your audience, I'm happy to do it. Skincare it's very general, but it's also very personal. And so, if there is someone that's struggling with a particular issue, I'm happy to speak to them offline. I'm not a dermatologist. I'm not an esthetician. I'm not any of those things. But I do have a very school of hard knocks experience when it comes to this skincare. And I would, in much the same way that a lot of doctors don't know what the F they're talking about anymore when it comes to health. The American Academy of Dermatology has 27 corporate sponsors. 26 of them are big pharma. So if you're talking to your dermatologist, you might actually be talking to big pharma. Shocker, I know. But yeah, I take a less is more approach, and I do believe that God gave us an amazing organ, and that 90% of the problems your skin are experiencing are because you're unwilling to get out of the way. And dermatologists don't want you to get out of the way. It's most of skin health is understanding and learning how to get out of the way and let your skin just breathe and relax and thrive. And I believe our products can play a role in that, but foundationally, there's a couple layers underneath that really need to be addressed. And so happy to walk through that, talk through that. But if there are specific questions amongst your crew that I can weigh in on, I'm happy to do it.
Fantastic. We really appreciate it. So we will be back next week, folks. We've got some more. So what I'm doing, Charles, is I'm inviting everyone who was a sponsor for the Organuary to come on the podcast,
good.
Right?
Fun.
Yeah. So we've already had Robert Sykes, James Berry was on. We had Chris Bear of Keto Chow. He was on. We've got, let's see, I think we've got Carnivore Bar. Philip is coming on. Yep.
We just did a collab with Philip and Courtney last month. Love Carnivore Bar. Love them.
Yes. Yeah. They sent me, the amount of, what I get, 6 boxes of different flavors of Carnivore Bar. Yeah, I'm telling you, it was like Christmas. And my poor husband is like, we live in a travel trailer. Where are we going to put everything? But we have a building, so everything is stored out there.
Right.
But yeah, so Polyface Farms, actually, they sent me a big box of organ.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, I know you were talking about them. Let's see, who else? I'm trying to get 3C Jopa Cattle Company. They're based out of Texas here. They sent me some Wagyu meats.
I got to win this thing next year.
You do, right?
I play every year. God. There's probably somewhere in the sponsor stuff that's like, I can't win. I'm probably ineligible, but hey, listen, I'm happy to support those brands. I think it's amazing what James is doing over at Pluck, and he's my brother from another mother. Like, he's using the organs and I'm using the fat, and we're all just trying to get people healthier. So it's remarkable what he's doing, and I love the Organuary Challenge, and was delighted to send you our package. So
well, thank you again very much. So. All right, Becky, you want to end it, and
yes,
we will
ma'am.
let poor Charles go, because I think he's an hour later than we are.
Awesome. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, comment. We end up when we read those. So